everybody, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a full look at my 2014 Nissan GT-R. It hit me the other day that I have no Nissan GT-R review videos, just the structured ones, so we're going to go ahead and do that on my own car. If you're a regular viewer and a returning subscriber and have seen this thing a million times and aren't interested in today's video, I will see you in the next one. However, if you are a new viewer or want to see this thing inside and out, let's take a look. The model that we're looking at today is a Premium Edition, finished off in gun metallic, is equipped with the Premium Interior package, and had an original MSRP of $105,000. Underneath the hood, this features a hand-built 3.8-liter twin-turbocharged 6-cylinder engine. It produces 545 horsepower and 463 pound-feet of torque. It's a mid-mounted front engine, paired only to a 6-speed twin-clutch automatic transmission. The transmission is located in the rear of the vehicle as a transaxle, and sending the power to all four wheels, you can expect 0 to 60 coming at 2.7 seconds. And running off a 19.5-gallon fuel tank, you can expect to get 16 miles per gallon in the city and 22 on the highway. The overall curb weight is around 3,800 pounds with a wheelbase of 109.4 inches. The length is 183.9 with a width of 74.6, and then the height is 53.9 inches. This features ventilated and drilled floating rotors in all four corners, measuring 15.35 inches up front and 15 inches in the rear. We get Brembo 6-piston monoblock calipers up front and Brembo 4-piston monoblock calipers in the rear. The wheels measure 20 by 9.5 inches up front with 20 by 10.5 inches in the rear. They're raised aluminum alloy forged wheels finished off in a gunmetal gray. And then my car is all wrapped in a Michelin Pilot Supersport tire. And given all the performance DNA within the Nissan GT-R, you can expect a top speed just under 200 miles an hour. The front bumper features LED daytime running lights as well as projector beam headlights. We have large openings in the upper and lower portion of the grille to allow maximum cooling to the intercoolers as well as the radiators. The passenger side of the bumper has a functional vent to allow even more cooling to another cooler. We get a central GT-R badge and then dark gray finish in the center section of the bumper as well as the lower splitter. Making our way to the hood, it flows nicely to the front bumper. There's a sharp line on both sides of the hood. We get functional intake ducts in the top of the hood that allow cool air to go right to the turbos, and then when the car is parked, it helps the hot air escape from the engine bay. You'll notice a nice bulge around them as they flow within the hood, and all that together gives the front end of the GT-R a really clean look. You'll notice the front bumper has some body lines in it, all helping guide air around the front end. Behind the front wheels, we have a functional vent that helps alleviate pressure from the front wheel arches, as well as take some heat out of the engine. We get a GT-R badge on it, and then if we look at the front fender, you'll notice a nice body line all wrapping around it, giving it an aggressive look. There's clean body lines as we make our way to the side profile, body color side mirrors, and then a nice wide wheel arch for the rear end. That same dark gray finishes off the lower side skirt, and then we get a sharp line on the lower portion of the door that makes its way to that vent. And then the overall side profile has a very proportional look, super muscular, nothing too outlandish or extravagant, but very clean overall. And as we make our way to the rear end of the car, we get the fixed wing mounted on the trunk lid, your classic Nissan Skyline round taillights, another functional vent in the side portion of the rear bumper, full carbon fiber rear diffuser with more openings to allow heat to come out from the exhaust. We have a standard backup camera in the center, and then your dual quad tip exhaust system. So there's a good look at the exterior of the Nissan GT-R, as well as talking about some of the performance specifications. When you look at the numbers that this car has, it is truly mind-boggling that a car, especially on the used market around the $60,000 to $70,000 mark, has performance that matches Lamborghinis and Ferraris, and in all honesty, it destroys Lamborghinis and Ferraris with the 0 to 60 time matching a Bugatti Veyron. The performance is absolutely unreal for the money. Talking about the styling, this really isn't a crazy looking car. A lot of people don't look at it like it's anything special. Some people think it's just like a Mustang or a Camaro, just kind of a normal two-door sports car. All the styling though is very functional. The spoiler, the front bumper, the mirrors, everything is designed to guide air around the car, making it super aerodynamic and very efficient when doing performance driving. It's not an in-your-face design, which I really like. It makes for a great daily, but it still has a great amount of road presence with its styling. And now to take a look at the interior, keeping the key fob in my pocket, all I have to do is go up to the door handle and press the button. Car automatically unlocks. You press this portion of the door handle to open it up. It's a little bit awkward to get used to, and now we can take a look at the inside. This features the red amber upgraded leather interior. It's about a $5,000 option when this vehicle was brand new. And then moving our way to the door panel, it features the same red leather along it. You can see the stitching design on it. The stitch color is somewhat of an off-white coloring. Then we have the grab handle with the same leather and stitching on it, your automatic windows and lock controls. The door release handle is located right there. We have a little bit of storage down low as well as the Bose audio speaker. Then making our way into the interior of the vehicle, we get a GT-R badge on the door sill. Your power seats, which have a very nice button to them, just moving it back, forward, up, down is the back of the base, and then we have an up-down button for the front of the base, and then just rotating is actually how you recline the seat. We get the hand stitching throughout the sides of the seat with perforated leather, a nice stitching design in the center. They even have a badge on the inside of the seat that says handcrafted stitch. But definitely a beautiful interior with all the red leather. Making our way to the steering wheel, we get perforated black leather along the sides, and then the same red leather along the top and the bottom. We have the dark gray trim along the inside of the steering wheel, all your volume controls, Bluetooth audio controls, and then cruise control settings over on the right side, as well as your lap timer. And then with my foot on the brake, we can go ahead and start it up. Now my car does have a ton of modifications on it, as you will see in the GT-R playlist down below, part of which is the Armytrix full exhaust system. This is a straight pipe catless exhaust, so it definitely sounds pretty amazing. We have the tach located right in the center with a red line at 7,000 RPM. We have a digital speedometer in the center, your actual speedometer over on the left side, maxing out at 220. Your gear is located up top with your engine temperature and fuel level, and then using the button over here, we can toggle the center screen. I like to have it on the digital speedometer, but there's a ton of different things you can see this pop up with. On the left side here, we have your mirror controls. They are power folding, which is a great touch to have. And then just holding it back up, it'll open up. We have your trunk release button down below, as well as a slot for your key fob if it does happen to die. We have black leather along the top with the same design stitching all throughout it. The steering wheel is tilting and telescoping, and a cool feature, the entire gauge cluster goes with the steering wheel. We have the touchscreen navigation system in the center. There's a lot of features on it. Hitting the function button makes the screen pop up right there, and we can twist this dial to actually see many different aspects within the vehicle. You can see a cornering gauge with trans temperature and oil pressure, but really cool, you can adjust all these screens and see a lot of different parameters within the vehicle, the gear, the speed. I like to drive it either on this one with a large boost gauge and some temperatures, but then my favorite one to run is this one where I have all the critical things like the oil pressures, the oil temperatures, cornering G, as well as my boost gauge. And then down below that, we can go into the map to see your navigation. You can adjust where you want the destination to go. Very simple, just like all the other Nissan vehicles. There's a settings button. You can change a lot of different items within the vehicle. Then hitting info, there's even more things you can change. So a really good amount of things you can change. Hitting the status button over on the left side, see the average miles per gallon, as well as your fuel efficiency, and continuing to hit that, you can see a nice screen of your climate controls, your route. We have all your radio controls as well as your climate controls down below. Any one of the buttons up here will go to your radio, your disc, or your auxiliary. You can scroll through it by just tapping this right here, your Bluetooth audio, then back to your CD or going to your FM radio. We have climate controls in the lower section. Pushing this off will turn it completely off, and then adjusting the fan speed will turn it back on. And then down below that is all your performance settings. You have one for your transmissions, your suspension, as well as your traction control. The suspension down is your comfort mode, your normal mode, and then holding this up, this will put it into the race mode, which is extremely stiff. Transmission, you have a race mode as well for lightning quick shifting, normal shifting, and then down in save mode, the throttle response and everything is very limited, extremely conservative to drive. Then we can turn traction control completely off, normal mode, and then race mode allows quite a lot of slip, which is great for the track, but really good. You can configure so many aspects within the vehicle. And then if we go ahead and put it into reverse, the backup camera pops up. You will also notice the very annoying beep. A lot of the GT-Rs do that. Not every single year had that, but that is one big drawback with the reversing system. And then your steering wheel mounted paddle shifters are finished off in aluminum. They're actually very nicely constructed. And then at the actual shifter, you can take a look at the shift pattern. So pulling it back, we were in reverse. Bumping it down a little bit, you're into neutral. Pulling it all the way down, this puts you into drive. It defaults you into automatic, as you can see with the A logo. And then by just bumping this over and back, that puts you into manual and then automatic. So you just bump it left to right. The only way to manually shift is using the paddle shifters. You cannot shift by using this, but if the vehicle is in automatic, all you have to do is hit one of the paddles and it will put it into manual. It won't actually shift that first time, but then when you hit it again, it'll then shift. We get the engine start stop button in the center, then opening this up reveals two cup holders. We have the leather wrap shift boot around the parking brake. Then your armrest with some more of the stitching, finished off in black leather. Opening this up, we have a pretty good amount of space in here. You can fit a few items, as you can see. And then to take a look at the glove box, we have a little bit of space in here. All I have is the owner's manual, and that's about it that you get for the car. You have more air vents along the dash over on the right side with the same red leather and all the stitching. You can get a good look how the red leather wraps around the passenger side, and a good look at how the seats look. I love the stitching on them, the cutouts up top. You could put a full racing harness in here, but definitely a nice touch with all the red and black. Now this is a 4-seater vehicle. If you go ahead and grab the lever right here, we can fold up the front seat to take a look at how the rear seats are. You do get one cup holder in here as well as some speakers for the Bose audio system. And now I'll go ahead and hop on inside. I have ridden in the backseat of this car. It's not that bad. I will say it is not the best as I try to get my feet in here. The seats themselves are not that bad. They're pretty decently sized. My head does have to sit a little sideways or kind of hunched a little bit, but with the seat set a little bit shorter than the way I actually drive, if I put this back, my knees pretty much have to go on the outside of the seat. You don't really have that much legroom back here. You can see how this seat only has a few inches, but given that the car does have actually a ton of legroom, if both front occupants just drive a little bit cramped by sliding their seat up maybe 2 inches, you do have enough space to fit people in the back here. I'm 5'11", and as you can see, I am genuinely fitting in the back seat here. I've been in here for maybe like a 30-minute drive, so not too bad for what you get in this car. It is pretty surprising how practical a car like this is, and keep in mind this thing destroys supercars on the racetrack, so the fact that you can actually fit people in here is pretty impressive. And then to take a look at the trunk space, you can use the button on the inside using the key fob, or there is a button right here. Pops the trunk nicely, you can lift it up. We have actually a ton of space in here. I can put a lot of luggage in here. The rear seats do not fold down at all. There's too much structure within the vehicle, so you can't fit anything long in here. But for backpacks and luggage and stuff like that, grocery shopping, it is definitely very practical. So about to set off now in the Nissan GT-R. This is pretty much the first time I've reviewed like a structured review of my own car, so of course I have a lot to talk about it. I've driven this car about 9,000 miles, so I know a thing or two of what it's like to own this car. So while we're in the parking lot, we'll just talk about some of the costs real quick. Obviously I'm not able to talk about that when I'm at car dealerships because I don't own every single car I review. But with the GT-R, it's honestly nothing special as far as maintenance costs or anything like that. Now, insurance is very cheap for me. It's about $1,600 a year. I have a perfect driving record for the last 10 years. So that comes with a great reward of low insurance costs. The gas, I get about 17.5 miles per gallon, which is no different than a typical SUV. As far as oil changes, it costs me about $80 to do. I do that myself. It's actually easier to do the oil change than on the 370Z. There are less bolts on this car than the 370Z. It's not at all an expensive car to maintain from what I'm finding. Now, if something does go drastically wrong, like the transmission blowing up or the engine blowing up, that will be like a $20,000 bill. But other than that, your normal maintenance cost, running cost is nothing out of the ordinary. So then to talk about some of the normal driving, when you start the car up, it starts up in automatic. All of the mode buttons down below are in the normal positions. It's a very comfortable, easy, rather normal car to drive. You will notice a lot of drivetrain noises. The transmission, you'll hear it clunk. Like right now, it clunked a little bit as I come to a stop, and then when I give it gas, it is a twin clutch gearbox. You have to give it a little bit of gas for it to engage, but you will hear some drivetrain noises and some rattles in it. It's just the way it's designed. And then getting up to speed like normal, it's a normal car. Now I have an Armytrix full exhaust system with the valves closed right now. It sounds practically stock. For those of you who are subscribers, you know all the mods I've done to this thing. So this car is a full stage 3 build. I have larger fuel injectors, a stage 3 tune, bigger intakes, and then the catless exhaust system. So I know how the car performs stock and then each stage up until now. By driving it like a normal car, it really is just a normal automatic car aside from the clunkiness and the slow speeds. It's comfortable to be in. There's really nothing crazy about it, which is one thing that I really like about it. It can be just a normal daily driver car. Now the way I like to drive it a lot is putting the suspension into comfort mode. It's a very rigid vehicle. It's designed for high performance track driving. The comfort mode button on the suspension is a lifesaver on long road trips. It does such a great job making the car very soft and absorbing all the little bumps. In race mode, the suspension is extremely stiff. You feel every single bump. It is definitely designed for the racetrack, and it's not even worth keeping it in race mode when you're on the street. Same thing with the transmission. If I'm in automatic and I put the transmission into race mode, it is so aggressive, too aggressive, honestly, for daily driving. I'm in 6th gear right now. If I slam on the brakes, it's going to downshift to 3rd gear. We're in 2nd. It's holding the gears a little bit longer. Slamming the brakes. 2nd gear now at 35, holding 2nd. Transmission race mode automatic is not a way to drive because it is totally ready for the performance stuff going on. So normal cruising, I do not drive like that at all. But as far as the normal daily driving, visibility is really good. You can see out nicely. Like I said, and I've probably said this a million times, it's just a normal car for normal driving, which is one of the reasons why a decade later, this car is still being made pretty much unchanged, a few minor adjustments here and there each year, but it's a pretty amazing car with the normal stuff. So being a normal daily driver that has a lot of usability, is this car still a performance car, a supercar? Well, let's see. car is insanely fast. Even in the stock form, this car rips, but especially with a stage 3 build, full bolt-ons. My goodness. This car just rips up to some super high speeds and is insane to drive. The handling of the car too is really good. It actually has a speed sensing steering system, but the slow speed driving, the steering is very lightweight, it's very normal, but the faster you go, the heavier and tighter it feels. Like right now, going about 60 on these turns, it's super planted. There is a little body roll when you are on the racetrack. Comparing it to my brother's Audi R8, you can totally tell the lower center of gravity in his car. This car is kind of a handful though when you are on the track, because there is so much power and so much grip. The limits to what this car can do are very sketchy, because if you are breaking the limits of the car, you're going really, really, really fast, and that is kind of hard to bounce back from if something happens. But when you are driving it, at least with the traction in race mode, it does give you a lot of leeway. It doesn't kill you completely. You can get it a little tail happy, spin the tires a little bit, but the traction doesn't interfere with you, and it doesn't feel like it's taking any power away. But I like how with this car, it's very responsive with how you're driving. Taking that turn. And then one thing about the transmission, so in race mode it shifts much quicker. Also, it'll shift differently depending on how much acceleration or braking you're giving the car. So if I'm just cruising right now, not on the gas or brake, hopefully you can hear the downshifts. From when I hit the pedal and when the car actually downshifts, there's a little bit of a delay. Same with acceleration, slowly accelerating, you can see that delay, then it shifted. But when you slam on the brakes, it's lightning quick, and when you are pinning it, it is lightning quick. So now as I go down to the gears on the brakes, and then accelerating now, you can see how it is like an instant gear change when it knows you're driving in a performance setting. Now the factory braking system is extremely aggressive, very good for on-track driving. I do not have the factory pads on the car right now because around town and stuff, they just squeak way too much and are completely annoying for me. I have a little bit more conservative pad, which is really good for daily driving and around town. They still stop the car very nicely, not quite as grabby and touchy as the stock system is, but being that they don't make any noise, that's great for road use. Now back talking about some acceleration, like I said, the stock tune, the 0 to 60 is kind of a claim to fame. 4th gear, 5th gear, there's really no power. With the stage 3 setup though, we'll do a 4th gear from about 51 miles an hour. Some turbo lag. Wow. And that just really rips up to speed. 4,000 RPM is when it really hits. You get all the power right there. Now the stock turbo, it is 13 PSI. That's the stock tune. Right now with my tune, I'm at 20 PSI. So it has a lot of punch to it. But the overall responsiveness when you are driving this performance oriented, it really keeps you on your toes. Man, when you look down and see what speed you're actually going, it's pretty crazy. A lot of people do give me a hard time for never really redlining the car. When you own a GT-R, you know why you can't really do that on the road, because let's just say 100 miles an hour, it kind of comes pretty soon in this car. And when you hit bumps, I mean, it is a dramatic car to drive. And if you guys remember when the GT-R came out, Jeremy Clarkson did a full review on it, and I think it broke his back or something, but he said it was just an insane car to drive. So much power, so much to handle. A lot of people do hate the fact that there's no manual transmission offered, but you simply could not keep up with what this car has if it had a manual transmission. It gives you a ton of control, and in all honesty, for any sports car or supercar, having control of the car is what makes it or breaks it. So with this car, I can truly control how the transmission is going to act, and it drives just like in a manual. And then with this kind of power, oh man, it hits 55 so fast. Even 5th gear right there, there's power in 5th gear. I mean, how many cars, top gears like that, have power? Man, this car truly is a supercar. It's just, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I've had this car now a year and 4 months, I believe. I took delivery January 27th of 2018. And it is, oh my gosh, it is an amazing car. And honestly, they're not that expensive. You can buy them for like, I think the mid $40,000 range now. They're pretty reliable from what I've seen. Not many people have too many issues with them. I know the first year, like 2009, 2010 model years, some of them had some transmission issues. 2014, which is my car, obviously, they updated the transmission quite a lot, as well as the suspension. I think 2012, they upgraded a lot of the styling of it. So every single year GT-R, they did do some pretty good changes. 2014, though, from what I learned after I bought it, was really the good year to buy. Nothing wrong with the previous ones. They just don't have as much, I guess, bulletproofness to the design of them. So there could be some issues. But if you look at the ones for sale, there's so many, even with 80 to 100,000 miles, with no issues on the car. So it's not like this car is prone to many issues. Fundamentally, it is still just a Nissan underneath. There's a lot of normal stuff to it. Like I said, with oil changes and stuff, it's nothing special. While it is a special supercar with amazing performance, it's a Nissan. Nissans are pretty normal, nothing too special about them, and it is nice how this is a budget-friendly supercar given the normal car company that it comes from. But I think that about wraps up doing a full look inside and out of the 2014 Nissan GT-R. Of course, this is not a stock car anymore with the Stage 3 setup. It's a lot quicker than the stock form. I really am impressed with how every time I've done a modification to this car, it drastically changes it so much and makes me fall in love with the car even more. I really love the way it is right now. So if you have a GT-R or are looking to buy a GT-R, you don't even need to spend a lot of money to get it up to a great setup. Just do 3-inch intakes, throw on a mid-pipe, and then do a Stage 2 tune. That'll only cost you maybe $2,000. You can do that in your garage. So easy to do. So with that said, that is the 2014 Nissan GT-R Stage 3 setup with about 600 at the wheels. I love what this car has turned into. It is a bang for the buck bargain supercar that can do every single thing, and every single thing it does pretty much better than anything. Not to be a cocky GT-R owner, because there are quite a few of them out there, but you're never going to encounter a car that's faster than you. Of course, every now and then you might, but you're really not going to encounter cars that are faster than you, which is pretty cool. And the cars that are faster than you are probably not as usable. So GT-R, hard car to argue with. It has everything you need in it. And that is my full review of my car. It's amazing. If you guys are new to the channel and have not seen any of our videos, check out the link down below to the playlist of probably like 100 or so videos with this car, going from stock all the way up to where it is now. It has been a fun road, and now I think it's time to actually drive the car, take it on some road trips, and put some more miles under its belt and really utilize what this thing has to offer. But that is it. We do have GT-R merchandise, so check that out in the description below. Give the video a huge thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, and we will see you guys in the next video.